My name is, actual name is Marcelino Brown. I'm from Central America, okay? And I came here at a very young age and became naturalized and went into the military, Air Force, and came out as a sergeant in 1971 after doing a tour of Vietnam. And so I served my country. Even though I'm 71 years old yesterday, I still want to serve my country because I think I have a lot to offer. And I want to continue to serve the country because we're in such dire straits right now for leadership at all levels. And you know what I'm talking about. One of my goals is to see if I could help the district that I live in, because Tim Sheldon represents that district for nearly 20 years now. And to me, it goes towards character. He claims to be a Democrat, registered Democrat, but yet he votes as a Republican. And that upsets both sides of the party line. And so the Democrats have really tried for years to try to oust him, but they're unable to do that because he's a good old boy network. You know, he's from Belfair, so to speak, Mason County, and so he represents the people that live there because they've known him for years. But what irks me most about that is the fact that if you're going to be a member of a certain party, then identify with that party. Don't fool your constituents and tell them that you're something that you're really not because you want that position. Because you're there as a representative. And representative means you represent the Democratic Party or you represent the Republican Party. But you don't say it's your one party and identify as another. To me, that goes towards character. That's just my take on it. And the other reason I want to run is because I believe in term limits. And the reason for term limits is because it was put into the Constitution that way based on the Founding Fathers' philosophy on how to govern. And that's why they had 2-year terms, 4-year terms, and so forth. And Tim has been there too long, and a lot of other politicians have been there way too long. They've made it a career. And politics is not supposed to be a career. I don't want anyone tells you it is not to be a career. You're supposed to go and meet your constituents and come back and vote according to what their needs are, not what your philosophy is, what your needs are. You are a representative, right? So that means you put aside your own personal views and you vote according to what your constituents want. Today, politicians really don't do that. They vote based on what they feel and what they think is best for everyone. And that's not governing for me. So I just feel that I can do a much better job than Tim Sheldon because he's run out of ideas. And that's what happens when you stay too long. You run out of ideas. And I have lots of ideas that I would like to see implemented that move our county and the other two counties, small counties, it moves and advances them forward with new philosophy and new ways of seeing things and new solutions to certain old problems that we have, right? And that's my reason for opposing Tim Sheldon, those two main reasons. There are other reasons, but those are the two main reasons.
Well, we will get into some of those ideas, I think.
Oh, cool.
Real quickly, what community do you live in?
I live in the Belfair area.
Belfair, okay.
Yes.
You had mentioned before, I do have one more kind of a follow-up question as far as comparing you to Tim Sheldon. Like you said, criticized him because on paper, a Democrat, but caucuses with the Republicans.
That's correct.
How do you think you differ politically from him? Where do you break with him? Because he is voting with the Republicans, and you're running as a Republican.
That's correct.
How do you see yourself as different than him, kind of politically and philosophically?
Well, I think that I am more of a Republican because Tim calls himself a Republican, but he's a maverick. That means he can vote whenever he wants to based on the issues. And I don't think I particularly care for being a maverick. You're supposed to vote what your constituents want. The needs of the people comes first. It says in the Constitution, we the people. It says nothing but we the corporations or we the Chamber of Commerce. It says we the people. And that gives the power to the people. And the politicians today don't adhere to that policy. And that's what really aggravates me about politics today.
Are there votes where you've seen him vote inconsistently, or there are positions that he takes that you think are inconsistent?
Not necessarily, no. It's just based on how I would have voted, you know. So
That description of a maverick, some people see that as a positive.
Oh yes,
indeed. You have some freedom.
Indeed.
You aren't locked to a party.
Right.
Do you have the ability to go against your party if you think they aren't doing something in the best interest of the 35th district?
I would probably say yes, but I would try to debate it with them and try to reason with them, because that's the only way you're going to get to the bottom of what the person really needs or the county really needs. And that's the situation I'm having right now with a pro-life group member that sent me a questionnaire, and you have to be able to debate and compromise, because that's what politics is all about. Compromise. We just cannot stand steadfast in one ideology. You have to look at the ideology and say, well, let's compromise here. Otherwise, we'll never move forward. We'll never move forward.
Are there any points in kind of the Republican Party platform that you say, well, I think a little differently on this?
Yes, I believe I do. And that would be like for example, the abortion issue. Many Republicans believe in pro-life, and I believe in pro-life because I am a Catholic. But on the other hand, I think because we are a democracy, we as Christians should not impose our values upon other members in the democracy that are not Christians or hold other beliefs. And so I would have to take that into consideration, because we live in a democracy, the only democracy that really functions properly, I believe, on this planet.
And then another question just along those lines. One of the things that's important for whichever side it gets down to Olympia is having to work with the party across the aisle, because we're so closely split in this state. How are you able to do that? How do you see yourself as playing well with Democrats should you be down in that position?
Personality. I have a great personality. I'm not bragging in that sense, but being a sergeant in the military has given me the experience, a diverse experience of meeting different kinds of personalities. And it's a matter of knowing how to utilize that personality from previous experience. How do you implement that in your daily life? And I'm able to do that quite well.
Marco, as you've gone around talking to people in your district and having meetings, knocking on doors, what do you think you're hearing is the #1 concern for people in the 35th?
The opiate epidemic that we're having, the homelessness that we're having. Okay, those are the issues that really, really need to be addressed in a humanitarian way. We just cannot seem to get a hold of how we're going to solve these problems. And one of my ways would be to, first off, find jobs for these people that are able to provide for their families and their homes. But all too often, a lot of people opt out of society because we make it so much easier for them to opt out. Really do. We give them all the social programs that they need, so there's no incentive to go out and work for the family or themselves. So we have to take a look at some of those programs and say, are we actually helping or are we actually hindering? For example, I heard the other day, Seattle, they have now, what is it called? A safe home where people who are drug users can go and shoot up, if that's the right term they use.
Safe injection.
Safe injection, that's correct. And I totally oppose to that, because what does that do now? You just now become an enabler. You've enabled somebody to continue the lifestyle that is harming them, even though it is safe for them. I mean, don't we all want people to be safe? And the only way to do that is to look at what they're doing and modify their behavior, not encourage it.
How do you think a state policy would do that? What would that look like, modifying the behavior to a person who is already addicted?
I think we need to put them in a facility where they can be taken care of, and provide for taking them off of the substance abuse that they're on, be it alcohol or opiate or whatever it might be. And we need to take them off those. Off the wrong track, so to speak, and put them in the right track. So, I mean, that's subjective, yes, but my point is we need to be more humanitarian about this situation.
Do you believe methadone treatment is effective?
Methadone treatment.
It's what opioid addicts, they can take a small sip of something.
Yes.
You do a daily regimen of that. You're not taking the drug, but you're meeting receptors, and it's supposed to wean you. Do you think that's effective? Is that something that should be used more? More widely?
That's debatable, because I'm with the Senior Citizens Advisory Board for the Sheriff Department in Mason County, and we talk about that a lot. The sheriff seems to be all in favor of that. But then again, I'm talking with him. I said, you really need to talk to your insurers before you implement something like that. He wants to be able to give all his deputies that, what is that, how do you pronounce that? Methamphetamine? What's method? Methadone.
I think naloxone is what he wants to give his deputies. That's what he's talking about.
Oh, okay.
If they're having,
that's correct.
If they're overdosing, you can shoot them with this.
That's correct. And there are also set of boxes along the way.
Yeah, methadone is a little different. Methadone would be a clinic in a community.
Oh, okay.
They're talking about putting one in Bremerton now. It's
Are they?
kind of being considered, so people wouldn't have to travel so far.
Okay.
It's kind of a daily. You go in, you have it, get a bit of your medicine, and that's it keeps you from using.
Oh, okay.
Something hard.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen examples of things that work in terms of confronting opioid abuse? You know, examples other places. Every community is facing it a different way. So are there things that you think you've seen that would be effective?
Not to my knowledge. I just think what really would be effective again is to bring back the help that the churches and the other facilities like Faith in Action, and if you know Faith in Action in Belfair, that helping people to overcome their problems, not encourage them in their problems. That's what I'm thinking would work better. We need to go back to the ways that we did things in the past. Those things worked. They worked. That's why we didn't have much of that problem when we were growing up. But today we've become so liberal in everything that we do that it's beginning to harm society. And because of that, it changes the culture of the society. For example, marijuana, you know, I'm totally opposed to that. Totally opposed to that, because of all the inherent problems that it has brought along, that comes along with it. You know, if you want to do that, fine. I guess you can do that in your own home. Nobody's judging you. But to legalize it, something is wrong. Just like when I think it was 2008, I was protesting the Proposition 1000, which was assisted suicide. That's the wackiest thing I've ever heard in my life. You know, but it did pass. But it turns out to be is not a good bill because most of the doctors are not following it because they don't want to be sued. Simple as that. And it's the same thing with the opioid situation. If a sheriff is going to go out there and administer some drug to someone so they don't die, and if they do die, who do you think is going to get sued? Who do you think becomes liable? They call it the deep pocket law, right? They're going to go after the person or the organization that has the most money. That's just the nature of this society we live in, the city of society.
That's a tough one because the sheriff is still tasked with a dead body on his hands.
It's tough.
You're losing people in your community.
But I think that the answer is out there and the solutions are out there if we sit down in a group and we just discuss. But many times people don't want to sit down and discuss. They hold on to their ideology or their vision of what life's supposed to be. And life is complicated and it's messy. But we have to, we have to communicate.
How would the state enable, you're saying faith-based or other nonprofit social services are part of the answer.
Right.
How does the state enable those? How does it choose the ones that are doing something right and against the ones who are squandering their resources?
Right. I think
what's the role there?
The role there, I believe, would be the state seeing the results. What results, what positive results are occurring with that particular entity, what they're doing, and say, well, let's help this group here because they're actually successful at what they're doing. Like St. Vincent de Paul used to be that way, and it used to work great. And a lot of people that I talked to at St. Vincent de Paul, because I help those charitable organizations out, and the workers there, I talk with them because I'm a friendly person. And, Marco, St. Vincent de Paul used to be a great organization. I said, well, what's wrong with it now? We don't pray anymore. So they look forward to the praying, right? Somehow it does something to them. It makes them look for a higher purpose, look towards a higher purpose other than the law. There's always a higher purpose.
What about with homelessness? There have been experiments in some of the communities in the 35th district, whether it's tiny homes or tent cities, shelters, things like that. What do you think is an effective method to try to decrease the number of homeless and help those folks?
As I said, we need to bring in jobs, particularly in my county, but I think everywhere else too. We're just beginning to come out of that phase of decadent society, so to speak, a jobless society. We're beginning to get out of that phase. I'm not going to go down that road of who caused it, but it needs to be changed. And the only way we can do that is to bring employment in. And we need to really get back to the children and educate the children that it's proper to accept jobs, not just look back and say, I'm working for the man. You know, no, you're working for yourself. You're working to advance yourself. See? And the children today in college and university, I'm not working for the man. I'm not working, you know, I'm entitled to the highest paying job without having any experience. But that's just what we're teaching the kids at the universities. If you don't believe me, do your research. I do a lot of research and a lot of reading, okay? And this is what they're teaching with the university, you know? That has got to change. Every job, you find a job as a young person and you advance yourself through that job.
What are the, I mean, it's one thing at the university you're saying that. The other, you know, the other fact of the matter is in Shelton, a lot of the lumber mills don't hire anymore. They either closed or they're not as robust as they once were. And that's, you know, those are jobs too.
Right.
What are the jobs that
well,
aren't in Mason County that should be there, or what industry should
we can, there's no reason we can't have like a small Silicon Valley coming in, you know, or building industry coming in, or some fish coming in industry. There's certain industry that are suitable to our counties, you know, because of the surrounding. And
how would you help that? How make that happen as a representative?
Well, you contact these corporations and say, would you like to come here and bring jobs and so forth. And we have this particular section where you can develop and put your building on it, you know, your edifice, and you have to entice people to come here, corporations to come here. They're not thinking about Belfair, or they're not thinking about Mason County, you know. Not until you point it out. This is a great opportunity for you, you know. Look at what you could do, you know, that kind of thing. You have to be able to encourage people. It's part of salesmanship. Like in sales, I've sold real estate for 20 years, okay? And they always said to sell the sizzle. And that's what you do. Look how beautiful our area is. Isn't it conducive, you know, to what you need?
There, to go back to where that question kind of started, you know, you're talking about jobs and getting people started on that better path.
Yes.
What about the folks that are already living in their car, living in a garage? They're already homeless. You've got to do something about it.
Yes.
What do you think works? Is there something the state could be more involved in towards, you know, that's a need that's immediate and right now. That's not
I know.
Find a corporation to come.
I know. Okay, well, here's one perfect example of where we're going wrong with this thing. I heard in California, if I may use that as an example, they're taking immigrants who are housed right now, and they're putting them in the military bases that are vacant. Okay. Well, I'm like, that sounds good, but shouldn't our homeless people be utilizing that base instead right now? Because they are American citizens. And I've promoted that for years. That was part of my philosophy. Clinton closed down a lot of military bases, and they're vacant. Well, could we not find a use for that other than monetarily maintaining it for no purpose whatsoever?
You don't have one in the 35th district.
No, we don't have one. No. But that's my example I'm using. You know. But there are things like that we can do. You just have to be able to think outside of the box. And I have to say, most people don't think outside of the box.
Do you see any outside the box ideas right now that you
know,
around here? I mean, let me be specific. The things they're doing in Shelton, tiny homes,
yes,
tent city in Olympia.
Yeah.
They have churches in Shelton that have turned into shelters.
Oh, yes.
Are those good ideas? Are any of those that you see as a
not
solution?
if it brings crime and brings a problem to the community, then it definitely doesn't serve its purpose. See, you have to be able to implement a program that helps people, but doesn't destroy or upset the community, you know, in any way. It brings crime. If it brings crime, we don't want that. That's not the part we're looking for. We want people sheltered, yeah. But those are problems that we have to work out with across party lines. What do we do?
One of the things that I mean, it's all tied together, and that's education in this state.
Yes.
the legislature last year put more money and has met what the Supreme Court said they were not doing their duty of doing, so they're free of that one.
Right.
They did that in part by changing how property taxes are assessed. Did you agree with the levy swap that they completed? Do you think that was a good way of solving the financial question?
I think so. I think that's one way of doing it. There are probably other ways, but it was such a rush situation because of the lawsuit on them. Everybody was panicking, so you grab the best thing you can at the time. But it's probably, to me, it's still something that probably needs to be worked out some more.
How do you mean worked out? What needs to be worked out in it? What's not complete?
More funding. I don't think 44 million is enough.
What's the top priority for that then?
In what regards?
If there's going to be more money spent, what are they?
Yeah, there should be more money for these teachers. I think teachers really need to be well compensated, and I do it on a merit base. I always do everything on a merit base. There's no reason in paying someone if they're not performing their duties. And teachers that are, they get a little bit extra to encourage them, right? We do that. It's encouragement.
Are you familiar with the Washington State evaluation system for teachers?
I am.
And it's not, is it not adequate, the system that you're using right now?
It's adequate, but teachers get around, or administration get around it.
How would
they do?
How would a
military do? Because ex-Air Force said, I know.
How would a merit-based system evaluate whether a teacher was doing a good job or not?
Well, you look at the end results.
What is the result that's most important?
Okay, what is the curriculum that you're teaching? If you're teaching science, if you're teaching math, then you have to test accordingly and see what the students have learned and how proficient they have that situation is. For example, one of my neighbor's kids, 18 years ago when we first got here, I think he was 15, yes. 15 years old, graduated from our high school, and unable to read? That's not acceptable. Not acceptable.
The kids in the 23rd district, I'm gonna generalize a little bit.
Okay.
Kids on Bainbridge Island are going to do much better on the tests than the kids in Belfair are probably.
Sure.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
So how would you prevent teachers from leaving for those jobs? Why would they want to teach in Belfair if they're being judged on those test scores? How would you fix that?
Dave, they have that problem, the exact same problem in every field. The sheriff department's having the similar problem. I was a fire commissioner. We had that same problem. We hired them, we trained them, gave them what they wanted, and they looked down a year or two later and said, bye-bye, we're going somewhere else because they're paying us $10,000 more. But here's all the training we've given them, right? And people are always looking for more. I go around in a circle and argue with my wife about it, but it's not right. She says, that's just the way it is.
So if you're the representative for those people, what are you going to do? How do you try to fix that so you can keep the good people working that they're
back in the day, right, we had a contract. I train you, and for 5 years, you give me this amount of time.
Who had that contract?
Oh, I don't know who had that contract, but back in the day, so I'm saying that every employer had something similar to that. So, and that's probably before your time. But yeah, because this was a waste of time to train you and then have you leave us. And today, employers are like, I'm not training anybody. If you work out, you work out. If you don't, I'll find another body. Because they don't want to spend the resource to train you when they know you're going to leave or possibly leave them. It'd be foolish. I kind of agree with them. It's a little foolish to do that today because we haven't educated the children to stay with a job and learn what you're doing and then from there make your move. Or stay with it, either way. It's all about how we look at work. How do we actually look at work today? The young people today want to get rich quick. That is a sad situation. My opinion again. All this is my opinion, okay? And based on what I have read, because as I said, I'm an avid reader. I just love to read about everything.
How often do you, as you've campaigned and prepared for this, how often have you gone to schools and talked to teachers or even kids or parents to, you're making a statement about, you're kind of taking a low view of
I know I am, because
like. And I'm wondering how many you've spoken with to get to know what their situations are like.
Because I do the research, I don't necessarily have to go to the schools to get that information. It comes in every day, MSN, all the different entities out there. They're basically saying the same thing.
But don't you think your community is a little different than what's being printed in MSN?
No.
Because Belfair is much different than Bainbridge, like
Oh,
you said, or
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, you're
Farmington.
talking about income disparity here, but I think it comes down more to the attitude that it does about income. Really, it does. All the kids today all want to be rock stars. What does that tell you? Pretty much all of them. You go to Bainbridge, I want to be a guitarist. I want to be whatever. It's a mindset that all the kids have. It's like where our minds are set on pop. Oh, pop is great, And so it's a mindset. It not necessarily means that it's true, but it's
Hollywood plays a big.
Oh, don't get me started on Hollywood.
But
Indeed, it does. Indeed, they change the culture that we have. Either intentionally or unintentionally. I think most of the time it's intentional, though.
So I pick up that you are very committed to this, changing
I
the
am.
culture of what you imagine in a generation of people.
Right. Right.
Is state representative the role to influence that?
I think
a lot of this
it can be leadership at any level.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't necessarily have to be one
How
area.
does being a representative help you do that?
To being a senator, well, there are laws going to be coming up now.
Senator, I keep saying that.
I understand. There are laws that's going to be coming up that I need to vote on. That's going to represent the district and the state.
Right. I guess I'm getting at how do those motivate young people to work harder? That seems to be what you're saying. Is this you're putting the burden on those young people who just don't care anymore?
Yeah, you hit it on the head. Don't care anymore. Because we haven't taught them to care.
What happens in Olympia to change that?
I think we need to talk with the educators and show them exactly what the problem is if they haven't already figured it out. But I think their mind is geared towards social engineering as opposed to listening to what is really going to work for the children. They're more concerned about their pay and their pensions. You look around the society today, most people are concerned about their paycheck and their pensions.
You yourself just said teacher pay was the top priority.
Yeah, top priority.
It is a top priority, yes. But the individual in America today are concerned. That's why they lose leadership, because they don't want to affect the bottom line. And my wife and I go around about this. It's like, well, honey, they've got to look after their welfare. At the end of when they retire. Well, this is true. But you also have to live up to. Who are you in this world? What is your ideology? Are you living up to it? What is your faith? Do you live up to your faith? That's just me. I am this way because I'm faith-driven. I am a Catholic, and I'm a firm believer in Catholicism. And I follow the teachings of Christianity. I feel to the letter of law. I'm not a Bible thumper, mind you, okay? But the person that I follow is the person I think that will show the world what love is, and what compassion is, what it looks like.
What have you done? You said you're a real estate professional, served in the military. How else do you get involved in your community? I mean, you're talking. I can see the passion in some of these issues and wanting to solve them. What else do you do in your community so you're in touch with these needs and so you're seeing and learning from them? What else are you involved in?
Faith in Action. Okay, and a lot of the organizations like that, charitable organization, they call me the bird man because I build bird cages and bird feeders, 5-foot bird feeders for the animals, and so they can raffle them off for their dinners and their fellow senior citizens. I make benches. They call me the bench man. I like to be creative because my major is industrial arts, the art of industry, which it's an old title now. They call it technology. That's called technology.
Career and technical education.
That's it. Yeah. So but what we were called shop teachers. All these different things. But it's industrial arts, knowing the art of industry, welding, and so on and so forth. So I know what kids hands-on experience looks like as an educator. You know, as I don't know if you know, I taught at St. Sebastian in Santa Monica, California. And that's why I came across a lot of immigrant children. 99% of the kids at the middle school were immigrants. Not interested in reading or learning how to read at all. It's just sad. And every teacher from kindergarten to 8th grade when I got them, 7th and 8th grade, failed those children. Okay, and I come and I find out that it's the same similar things happening in public school. Give me a break. Maybe not in the more advanced communities like Bainbridge Island, but it's there because it's attitude.
The 35th district has a large Guatemalan population.
Yes, yes.
What do you think their largest need is? What does that community need from their senator?
The Guatemalan community. You know, I've never really considered it. You know, I really never considered it. I imagine it's the same thing that most Americans need. Otherwise they wouldn't be here. Good paying jobs, hospitalization, housing, basic needs.
What were the other, you said you came in here with some other ideas. What else was at the top of that priority list for you? Oh, the tiny houses. I like the idea of tiny houses. At first I didn't like it because who's going to live in a 400, 500 square foot, you know, dwelling? But then the more I think about it, there are people that can, for the people who are homeless, right? They live in tents. That's smaller than a 400 square foot home. But I think if we can find funding for that, we should be able to, we have plenty of room in Mason County and Kitsap and so forth. Find areas where we can have those built for those individuals. Particularly for me as a veteran, I'd like to see tiny houses for veterans. That I would love, okay? And I say veterans who are seniors and independent. They're still able to get around, but you know, they just need a smaller place. Not this big 3-bedroom house that they had with their family. You know? So the tiny houses I see would work great there. But it has to be well planned, and I know how that can be because I study architecture. Architectural designer for Covington Technology in Fullerton, California, back when I was a kid. There's a lot of hats that I've worn. Okay? But real estate allows you to move around. Because I'm always learning, and it allows you to move around. And that's how I was a teacher. I subbed for a while, and then finally the principal where my sister was teaching, she says to me, you know, they need a teacher this year. Would you teach? And you know, you always wanted to do that. You always wanted to help immigrant children. And yeah, this is true. And that's how I got started in teaching, actually, full-time. But that didn't necessarily mean I stopped my real estate profession. You know? You can always sell real estate on the side. What did your real estate profession, what experience does that give you to go down to Olympia? What did you learn from that career?
Salesmanship, the art of negotiating.
What about the needs of the real estate industry? Is there a perspective you have? That
I, of course, have a weak spot for that. Yes, definitely. You know, because it's about housing. You know, and I primarily worked with a lot of immigrants because of Los Angeles and California, the communities, Hispanics, and I do speak Spanish, and so I get along with them and found homes for them. So it wasn't no $250,000 home, but it was a $40,000, $50,000 home that they could afford. I could get them into that, you know, with my skills.
One of the questions we've been asking all the candidates is school violence.
Oh yes.
What do you think the role of the state is to assist in the school violence issue?
The role of the state. Excuse me. It's pretty warm in here. Role of the state in school violence. You mean like coming on campus, that type of thing?
Yeah, keeping kids safe.
Oh, okay, I knew that would come up, yes. I think we don't need armed guards, so to speak. We don't need someone arming the teachers. That's not a good idea. Because kids can really get into things. I don't know if you know that or not. You probably do. I mean, kids, they get into everything. As a matter of fact, I read once, several months ago, that someone got into the teacher's drawer and was able to get a hold of his weapon, his gun. And that's not a good thing. So let's use that as an example. If that happened at that one incident, it can happen at other places, to other schools. But get back to the question, how would you control violence in the school? Well, we can have guards roaming and are the eyes of the campus, so to speak. Just like we have crossing guards. I don't know if you had them here or not, but in California we had crossing guards, and those people had people going across the street. So we can have those kind of guards on the campus, making sure that no one gets on that campus that's not authorized. We could do that, but it doesn't have to be at a level where it's intense or a combat situation. No, it can be done moderately. Eyes and ears, and the kids will also help. You know, say, Mr. Brown, there's somebody coming on the campus. You know him? No, we've never seen him. Then you alert someone that some strangers coming on the campus. That's how that works.
Does the state have a financial obligation to assist them?
You know, we would like to think that the state has obligation for a whole lot of things that we'd like to have done, but is it practical? That's the question we need to ask. Is it practical? Because there are a lot of things that sounds great, but it's not practical. Too cost effective or whatever it might be. Because we're doing it from the heart. We feel the pain of all the parents whose children, for example, have been slaughtered. And we feel that, and we want to do something about this. And we do something reactive instead of proactive. React. And it's always after the fact, right? Some tragedy in Las Vegas and we react. Well, is there something we could have done before that act occurred? Same thing with terrorism. Now everybody goes on the plane and they're being searched down to their shoes. For what reason? Because we think that might happen again. After the fact. See?
What's a proactive step right now then?
A proactive step right now?
So we're not reacting to one. There's never been a shooting at a school in Mason County.
Right.
What's a proactive way to make sure that does not happen?
Well, like I just said, you know, we have roaming guards on the campus who are our eyes and our ears. And if they see something, then they alert the authorities that someone is coming on the campus, or whoever's in charge of security on the campus, you alert them. Or maybe we have parents who are volunteers on the campus and they're lookouts, they're scouts, as we say in the military, they're scouts. So why can't we have that?
Is there any sort of legislation surrounding gun ownership that you'd support to make us all safer? Regulations and better background checks, more training, raising age limits, anything like that you think is worth talking about?
I think all those are good, okay? But I don't think we need to compound the situation and anger a lot of gun owners by putting added restrictions on guns because you don't understand the situation about guns. You start adding more things to it because you think, again, it was the reaction to what event has occurred. And so we figure, well, like I just heard today coming here, what is this? Seattle now says there's a law that says you own a weapon, you must keep it in your house, and you must secure it on the lock and key. That's the new law. Just heard it coming here on Como News. Okay? Well, geez, that's my home. You've just invaded my home. How dare you make a law to invade my home? My home is my castle. You've always told me that for years. And now you're telling me that you're going to control my home environment? So you're just giving the government authority over your life. And you know, government is greedy. Oh, I can do that? Now guess what? You can't smoke marijuana in your house. You can't do this. And all the restrictions come with just opening that Pandora's box. That's just the nature of humanity. Humans are that way. Well, you let me in, then we have another problem.
Well, we're just about at the time that we offered here. Anything that we didn't touch on, maybe a last statement you'd like to leave us with if there's anything we missed?
No, I want to go to Olympia as a state representative, senator, to represent the district. Like I said, I want to make a difference in the lives of my community where I live. Make it better than what it is. Because we're stagnant right now on the Tim Sheldon. He's a good man. Like him a lot. But there are a couple of things that I've stated before to you that has got to change. He's got to be able to start opening up the community to different solutions to the problems that we have. So as you said, the Guatemalan community, has he ever thought about them? You know, what are their needs? So I did go to their church several times. I went the first time. They've got a brand new church in Belfair on Highway 300, not too far from where I live. And I was at their opening, so supporting them. Yeah. But has Tim Sheldon ever been there? I doubt it.